Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Networks on Saturday, February 15th, 2014. This is episode 1057. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Ring Central. The cloud-based phone system we use just got better with the launch of Meetings, the full-service video conference feature. Zero startup costs, and Ring Central starts at just $25 per month per user. Try it now with a 30-day risk-free trial. And when you buy one desk phone, you'll get a second phone free, up to a total of 20 phones. Call 800-543-9980 or visit ringcentral.com and use the promo code TWIT. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. And it's time to talk about computers and the internet and smartphones and home theater, digital photography, anything with a chip in it, anything technology related. That's what this show is all about. 8888 Ask Leo. That is not the combination to the safe downstairs. That is my phone number, 888-827-5536. It does seem that 8888 Ask Leo might be easier to remember. That's how you reach us. You can call anywhere toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. and Canada. If you're not in North America, you could try calling us via Skype. By the way, I love Netflix. I love you, Netflix. Comcast apparently doesn't love Netflix too much. We'll talk about that in a second. But Netflix, which is, of course, started as DVD by mail. Reed Hastings was in college, and his college professor, he says, asked him in the class, I guess it was a computer science class, what has more bandwidth? A coast-to-coast fiber connection or a truck full of DVDs? And it's a question designed to get you thinking about, how data delivery and everything is a slow connection that transfers huge amounts of data. In other words, a truck with DVDs on it. That's more bandwidth than a fast connection, but a narrow pipe. And it's a fun question and great academic question. But what's interesting is Reed Hastings got to thinking and said, maybe DVDs by mail, maybe that's a business. He started Netflix, and it's been touch and go, mostly because the movie industry got very nervous very quickly. Other companies, of course, Blockbuster, Redbox, and others, started doing the same thing. But Netflix prevailed and then pivoted a year ago. They said, we're going to split the DVD by mail business off from our streaming movies by mail business or by internet business. And you'll pay $7.99 for one or the other. If you want both, it's going to cost you $16. And everybody freaked out, went crazy. I think Reed actually was crazy like a fox, but everybody else just went nuts, said, no, you're doubling our... What he was really trying to tell everybody is forget the DVD business because the movie industry won't support it. They don't want it. They're worried about piracy. Focus on streaming. But, of course, Netflix, again, due to its hereditary battle with the movie companies, didn't get all the best movies on their streaming, did they? The new movies were never available. Never available. So what did Netflix do? They went to the next level, which I thought was brilliant. First, they went to the folks who produced Arrested Development, which had been canceled on the networks, and said, would you like to do another season just for Netflix? They said yes. Then, a great coup, Kevin Spacey and his production company, Trigger Street, were shopping a remake of a British series called House of Cards. It was very successful in Great Britain. It was in Great Britain, it was about a member of parliament who was quite the fox. He was a very strategic fellow, and it was fascinating to watch. Spacey and company decided we want to transplant that to the U.S., make it about a member of Congress who will stop at nothing to become a huge success. And they were. I actually talked to one of the producers, Dana Brunetti, about this, and he said we were on the eve of selling it to another well-known company. I don't know if that's a television network or HBO or somebody, but he said we were on the eve when we got a call from Reed Hastings at Netflix, and Netflix said, well, hold on there. What about us? They made a very compelling offer. I think it was like on the order of $100 million, something like that, for 2 seasons or maybe just 1 season. And they said a few things that I think intrigued Dana Brunetti. First of all, complete creative freedom. Yeah, that's always good. And we will release this ad-free all at once, the entire season at once, because that's how people watch nowadays. They binge watch. It was a huge success. Netflix reported in its quarterly earnings, the next quarterly earnings, that they paid off the cost of it by just the number of new subscribers they earned. It pushed Netflix over 30 million subscribers for the streaming, which is bigger than HBO. Pushed them over that magic number. And they, of course, have done later. They've done more. Orange is the New Black, and Season 2 of House of Cards, the reason I bring this up, debuted yesterday. All the whole season, I don't know how many episodes that's, 13, 16, I don't know. But all I know is I watched almost 4 of them last night before my eyelids grew too heavy. It's great stuff. And Netflix has another hit. And what's, to me, very interesting is a real change in the way content is brought to our homes. This isn't over a network. It's not over broadcast. It's not even over a cable channel. This is via the pure internet, and you have to be a Netflix subscriber to see it. Love that. I think. I love that. And I'm so thrilled to see what a success it has been. Hard not to watch it. And as Beatmaster says, and Beatmaster, now wait a minute, aren't you in Switzerland? Were you able to watch this in Switzerland? He says the first episode of season 2 is a jaw dropper. Oh yeah, it came back strong, and I knew it was going to be because we saw the trailer for the last 3 weeks. Just incredible. And the reason I bring this up on a technology show, I'm not doing television reviews here, is how, to me, this is fascinating. This is how the internet has changed television. And I don't mean just internet distribution. That's for sure a difference. But the other way it's changed television is how social media and how word of mouth has made such a difference. I interviewed on Wednesday, I did a great interview with a guy who writes for GQ and Vanity Fair and The New Yorker. His name is Brett Martin. He wrote a book called Difficult Men. It's about what he calls the third golden age of television. It started with The Sopranos, of course, and Breaking Bad's in there. But what happened with The Sopranos is very interesting. It was the first time you could make a television show and not worry about what advertisers thought or even worry about ratings. HBO made The Sopranos, and all HBO needed to do was get subscribers. So even if only 1 million people watched the show, if it generated 100,000 new subscribers, it paid for itself. And of course, that was the beginning, in my opinion, of a brilliant television drama, followed by The Wire and Mad Men, so many incredible shows and they, in the early days anyway, they didn't have to worry about advertisers. They didn't have to worry about audience. It was about, they could do quality because people would pay for it. And Netflix looked at this and said, yes, it's true. And they've done great stuff that, it's better, in my opinion, better even than the movies, because instead of 2 hours to develop a story, you have many hours. In the case of The Sopranos, I think 86 hours. And so you can develop the characters and stuff. Well, all that's about to end. And I'm going to talk about why. Or maybe not, but it's not good. Comcast, Time Warner, let's talk about it when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Your call's next. Well, what's interesting, and again, this interview with Brett was fascinating. What's interesting is that originally it was cable companies, but now AMC and others, FX, well, I guess FX is a cable channel, but it's got ads, right? Are starting to do the same thing, quality programming. Mad Men does not generate a big audience. It's about 1.5 million a week.
did another show, Lilyhammer.
Yeah, Lilyhammer. I don't want to bring that one up. I loved it, but it didn't sustain its premise for very long.
They got season 2.
Yeah.
And it's been
Yeah.
fairly interesting.
It's fairly interesting is exactly it. The thing about House of Cards is you can't stop. It's like,
I know. It's
although the geek stuff in it was terrible, the hacker thing. You're exactly right, Curtis B. One of the real values to Netflix is they don't have to worry about international borders. They can, and of course they're having all sorts of trouble with the movie companies and so forth. Well, that's what I was getting to, but I took too long talking about it. I was getting to how, okay, look at all this great stuff we're getting. This is fabulous. And there's evidence that Comcast is slowing down Netflix illegally, but doing it. Strong evidence. And now they want to merge with Time Warner, which would give them even more clout and influence and basically end net neutrality as we know it. Netflix pays for all of it. They don't make any of it. They didn't make any of these. Netflix is not a production house. But the networks rarely make any of their shows. Almost always you fund a production company. I don't think they will be allowed to complete Time Warner. I can't imagine regulators will allow it, but it's horrific. Horrific. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So, as usual, hey, Heather Hammond, Phone Ranger, how are you? As usual, I took way too long to describe this whole thing of House of Cards and the new era and the third golden age of television, because what I really wanted to get to was this notion that it's all about to tumble like a house of cards if the federal government allows Comcast to acquire Time Warner. Comcast Time Warner would become not only the largest cable company, Comcast is number 1, Time Warner number 3. Together, they would be unstoppable. But also, Comcast is already the U.S.'s largest internet service provider. If they join with Time Warner, again, unstoppable. And the problem is already Comcast is acting like a poor corporate citizen. It's pretty good evidence, and I believe it, although Comcast, I'm sure, denies it, that they are blocking Netflix. They're slowing it down. Comcast offers its own streaming movie service, StreamPix, and naturally, Comcast is a competitor. But Netflix is a competitor. Most of us, and myself included, watch Netflix over Comcast, and it's terrible. It's terrible. And an interesting research piece by a fella, not exactly scientific, but he observed that when Comcast could see his traffic, Netflix was unusable. But when he hid his traffic with a VPN, even though the VPN slows things down, they're using this virtual private network, Netflix was 10 times faster. Pretty strong evidence that if Comcast sees you're watching Netflix, they're going to artificially slow it down. This is, by the way, complete violation of their promise to the FCC that they would not do this. I think that a Comcast-Time Warner merger would cast a pall over the future of us watching content over the internet. If you were a customer of either of these companies, you could pretty much count on it that they would use their internet connection to disadvantage competition, which includes not only streaming movies, but voice, because, of course, they sell a telephone service. So you could pretty much guarantee Skype would stop working very well and all of your other voice-over internet products. Comcast says, oh, there's tons of competition. This wouldn't be a problem. There isn't. They have a monopoly in almost every town they're in. Same with Time Warner. So this proposed merger of Comcast and Time Warner must be stopped. Must be stopped. Federal regulator, and I have confidence, although I don't know why, I have confidence that federal regulators will say, whoa, no way. That's a monopoly if we ever heard of one. And they should block it, and they must block it. It would be terrible. Terrible. So we'll watch with great interest this proposed merger. But if this happens, well, I think what would end up happening, because we really want to watch content over the internet, I think what would end up happening is widespread lawlessness. I think people would find ways. It would be bad all around. It would be very ugly. But I would contact your Congress critter at this point and let them know you, as a Comcast or Time Warner customer, even if you're not, don't want this. You know what else we found out? Comcast, the worst company in America, by the way, Comcast is also doing. If you have a Comcast cable subscription and you use their wireless cable modem, for Wi-Fi, they're turning your cable modem into a hotspot that anybody in your neighborhood can use. Did you know that? That, in fact, this is a new feature. As a Comcast subscriber, you can travel around and use Wi-Fi. There's free Wi-Fi everywhere you go. Whose is it? It's the Comcast subscribers who have Wi-Fi. My suggestion is you go look at your Comcast settings and disable that. It seems like a nice feature, but we don't know how secure it is. And, of course, they're not revealing any details except to say, it's don't use secure. Of course, they say it doesn't use any of your bandwidth cap. Well, there's another fine thing Comcast has introduced. It doesn't use any of your bandwidth cap. Well, we don't Comcast against you. But understand, with a cable modem, there's a finite pool of data. And if somebody else is using data on your cable modem, that means less for you, no matter what they say. The worst company in America. And now they want to be the biggest worst company in America. Call your member of Congress, please. Do me a favor. This is a terrible idea. Let's get to the phones. We got a lot of calls. Heather Hammond, Phone Ranger, has been pulling them in, screening them. We're going to kick it off with a guy with a great name. He's in Orange County. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Leo. Hi, Leo. This is Leo. Oh, let me push the button. Welcome.
Hey, Leo.
What can I do for you today?
Oh, how's it going? I've been a listener for a few years now. And I stopped listening, actually, because of, work and busy schedule. But nevertheless, I started listening again because I wanted to share with you a quick story of what happened. I'm a computer tech, so I know better than, to click on pop-ups and stuff like that. But funny thing happened. Someone actually called me at my house letting me know that my computer was infected, that they received Windows system report.
Did they say they were from Microsoft?
Yeah.
Well.
It's funny. I had never heard of that happening.
No, it happens all the time. Now, let me ask you, because you're a tech, you should be a little suspicious, were you?
Right. Yes, I was very suspicious.
And what did you say to that nice person?
I actually started questioning, I didn't let him know up front that I was a computer tech, so I was kind of messing with them, too.
Mess with him. Please.
Yeah, I was like, okay. I was like, so how do you know my computer's infected? Which computer? I have multiple computers. So I think they stick to a script because it was like, one of your computers, and you were probably behind a router. And I'm like, well, duh, everyone's behind a router.
You know how this works? It's really interesting. This is very common, by the way, and it doesn't work against people like you. You're too smart, but it works against older people who are not sophisticated with computer technology, because what they do is what they try to do with you. So they try to get you to open the event viewer. And when you open the event viewer, of course, as you know, the event viewer in Microsoft Windows is loaded with red X's where things fail. This is normal. But what they say is, oh, my gosh, you see all those red X's? Yeah. That means you're infected with malware. Oh, no, what do I do? Now, there's a couple of paths they can take here. Lately, what they've been doing is saying, well, I can fix it, but you have to give me your credit card number, and we're going to charge you $199 to fix it. Okay, here's my credit card number. Okay, now they've got $199 plus, they got your credit card number. That's not so good. And then they say, and now we need to open remote access to your computer so we can fix it. Oh, okay, what do you want me to do? Well, just when I ask for it, would you say yes? Yes. And then they get remote access to your computer, and now they have your credit card number. They have $199, and they have full access to your system. So they load it up with malware. And then I think you'll be fine. We'll call back in a few weeks to see how everything's going. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Microsoft. Say hi to Bill Gates for me.
Yep, and that's what happened. They didn't get that far, but that's what could have happened if I was not a tech.
If you want, you can go, Leo. You can go to YouTube. There are people have posted some of these calls, and and they mess with them, of course. It's really amazing. Do not get taken in by this. Bottom line, thank you, Leo. Microsoft will not be calling. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I think probably 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work, but all it needs to work is 1 time in 10. These guys are cheap. What we think is actually these are call service company representatives, usually in China or India or somewhere else, where they're because a lot of these service centers are third party, right? So during the day when they're busy, they're doing actual support, but when there's downtime, the bosses say, "Oh, here's a script." Would you call out on that?
Yeah, that last call was great. When I have time, I often mess with those guys too. I've gotten many of those calls.
You get a lot of them?
Oh, really?
Oh,
I
no.
do.
Wow.
What do I do?
Wow. I'm going to have pork and hominy chili, a medium-sized bowl at the Petaluma Market. The chat room is now passing along the Petaluma Market menu. Thank you, James. VA3JPX. 73 from W6TWT. Whiskey 6 Tango, Whiskey Tango. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Scott Wilkinson's here. He's our home theater guru. Joins us each and every week. He is the editorial director at the AVS Forum, which is a really great place to learn anything you want to know about video. Yeah.
From a million different people.
Yeah. And I imagine there's been a pretty hot thread on the AVS Forum about this Time Warner Comcast deal.
Well, as a matter of fact, I just put up a poll yesterday saying, do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing?
Did you get any good thing votes? Any at all?
Yes. As a matter of fact, we have looks like 3 good votes.
And how many bad thing votes?
48 so far, and I also put in a category of it won't make any difference, and I got 7 of those votes.
It will make a difference. Believe me, it will make a difference.
Oh yeah. And see, I worded that poll very non-committally, but I myself, I'm with you. It's like, wow, it can't happen. If it does, it's bad news.
Well, if it does, it means regulators are asleep at the switch because these are all natural monopolies. Every cable company is unique in every market. The way it works is a cable company gets a franchise from your local city government to sell cable in there. And in that franchise, almost always the deal is, and no one else can. So if you have Comcast, you don't have Time Warner or Cox or anybody else. And so that's a monopoly. And it's an effective internet monopoly because there's really only 2 ways you can get internet service. One is DSL over the phone line, and one is cable. It's a duopoly. And
cable is generally better. It's generally faster than DSL.
And
generally.
The FCC allows cable companies to say, unlike phone companies, no one else can use our cable for internet. So there's no competition on that cable.
Right.
So, boy, I can't imagine a more of a bigger monopoly than that. And for these two to merge.
Yeah, that would end up being the cable company would be in 19 out of the 20 top markets. And 43 out of the top 50 markets, they would be servicing 1 out of every 3 American homes. Yeah. Which is huge.
Yeah. And of course, I do believe Comcast acts anti-competitively. I do believe that they particularly with Netflix, because they have a competing service, they slow Netflix down. I think there's ample evidence, even though that's illegal for them to do so.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have Comcast or Time Warner. Charter is where I am. It's still a monopoly. It's what I can get from where I am.
You have no choice. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm also concerned that this merger might go through because over the last few years we've seen rulings all over the place about how media companies can own more and more and more. There used to be all kinds of regulations about how much, whether you could own a newspaper and a TV station and a radio station in the same market, and that's all pretty much gone. So
That's an FCC
I don't
thing.
know.
This is not FCC. This would have to be approved by both the FCC and the Federal Trade Commission. And I feel that that's highly unlikely, but of course, maybe I'm just an optimist.
Didn't DirecTV and Dish try to merge, and they were prevented from doing that by the same bodies?
And I mean, regulators have, for instance, told Sprint, you may not buy T-Mobile. We would not approve that. And that's a market where there are four different, at least four different big cell phone companies. So I feel like this is a non-starter. I'm surprised, in fact, that they didn't inquire and find out that there would be a non-starter. That worries me a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like it kind of went along pretty smoothly until this point, and now they're making all these news announcements.
Right. By the way, and the antitrust part is done by the Department of Justice, so you've got three hoops to jump through. So it isn't. I don't think it's an automatic, but boy, I hope not. And if it is, what will happen is, I think, mass civil disobedience. I do not marching in the streets, but people will find ways to get around.
Right, as you pointed out earlier, VPNs or masking your URL in some way or your location anyway, your IP address, so that they don't know where you're coming from. I think that's certainly a lot of people are doing that with the Olympics.
That's right. Another fine Comcast company, Embassy Universal.
Indeed.
Comcast,
exactly
the worst company in America. Do you need more data points? I'll be glad to give them to you. I mean, it's appalling. And, of course, they protect their interests. So, for instance, you can watch, if you have Comcast, you can watch on-demand video of the Olympics, but not if you don't. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. But meanwhile,
do you have anything to talk about that's happy?
Happy. Here's some happy.
Please.
Well, I always get questions, of course, and Mark Dymek asks, he says, now that Panasonic isn't making plasmas anymore and you can't really find them, they've already sold out, believe it or not. What's our alternative? Well, there are two, LG and Samsung. And he asks about the LG plasmas. What do I think of those as opposed to the Samsungs? And I have to say I prefer the Samsungs. If you can't get a Panasonic, which now I guess you can't anymore, I would generally speaking go with the Samsungs over the LGs. Now they'll be a little more expensive, but I think you're going to get a better picture quality.
Now, what about OLED? You saw that LG dropped the price of their OLEDs.
Yes, down to $6,000 or $7,000.
Yeah, $7,000. Which is half what they were charging, and it is less than the Samsung OLED that I bought. Yep. Those are really great. I love OLEDs. 7,000 is still too much, but
it is for a 55-inch TV.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. The picture quality is fantastic. You and I both know that the curve isn't that great. We wish that it wasn't curved, but it is. And if you can tolerate that, then yeah, every other aspect of the picture quality is fantastic. Just amazing.
Is LG's
beautiful,
curved?
deep?
LG's curved?
Yeah.
Why? Because they can.
Because they can. That's really the bottom line. Because they can, and they want to differentiate. They want to say, they want to justify even $7,000, which is half what they originally started charging. It's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, they want to justify that and say, oh, well, if you spend that kind of money, you're going to get a curved screen. Ooh, bring all your friends over. The problem is you can't have more than one person sitting in a good spot to watch a curved screen, at least at that size. Yeah. Now, we saw at CES, 105-inch, 2.35 to 1, really super wide, flat panel. They're not really flat because they're curved, but you know what I mean. And that starts to make some sense, because if you go to a big movie theater, the screen is curved, right? And you've got hundreds of people sitting in front of it. But that's a gigantic screen. So the larger the screen, the more immersive that starts to become, and the more useful and reasonable it is. But at 55 inches, makes no sense at all to me. I'm sorry. And a bunch of people at CES, Samsung, and LG all said, well, why don't you like it? It's so cool.
So what do you recommend? Should people look at LED backlit LCDs and just say, hey, that's what's there and that's what's out?
That's what's available now. Unless you've got the money, and you want to buy this the OLED, get a Samsung plasma over LG, my opinion. If you want to get a plasma, and plasmas still, I think, have it over LCD TVs, even the new LED LCD TVs. The one exception I will make in that regard will be available in the second half of this year. It will be the Vizio reference series, which we saw at CES. And I think I've mentioned here before, it was hands down, every single person agreed, the best picture at CES.
Now, was it, Vizio is traditionally a less expensive brand. Was it also less expensive?
Right. Well, they weren't revealing what the price would be. I can only assume that it's going to be, not uber expensive.
Oh, that's good. Not uber expensive.
Vizio has this reputation. On the other hand, this is they're striking out into new territory here. Yeah. Their panels are all 10-bit, which means they have greater finer gradations of color and a greater dynamic range. So when the content comes, and they're also 4K or Ultra HD, so they're this super
Scott, we're
high
out of time.
resolution.
Leo Laporte,
okay.
the tech guy. You're not hearing the music, are you?
Sorry, I didn't hear the music at all.
Yeah. He has to hear the music. We're working on
I would have been able to get out of that more smoothly.
I apologize, and I'm sorry I had to cut you off. We're redoing.
That.
That's not your fault. We're redoing the board, and I just didn't know that you weren't hearing the music. So they'll fix that.
Okay.
Why don't you take over and finish your thought?
I'd be happy to. Sure. Anyway, yes. So these Vizio reference series is UHD, but more importantly, it can accept a high dynamic range signal. And as I said before, we saw a side-by-side with a regular 8-bit panel and the new Vizio reference. And the content going to the Vizio reference was what they call, quote-unquote, graded for that display with a wider color gamut, a greater dynamic range. And, oh, man, it just looked amazing. I mean, that's the future of TV. At least in terms of high quality TV. Now, how you're going to get that 4K? It's going to be streamed for the first year at least, probably 2. Broadcasters aren't going to do 4K, high dynamic range, high bit depth, and cable companies certainly aren't going to do it. So the first thing you're going to see it with is streaming. And, all this Time Warner Comcast stuff is kind of threatening to that as well. But Netflix has the second season of House of Cards available in 4K to stream in 4K, or what's more accurately called Ultra HD or UHD. I don't have a UHD set yet.
Hey, Scott?
Yeah.
Can you hear Leo's commercial?
I can hear it now.
No. So you are hearing it. Okay.
I want to save around those trees. Now it just went away.
Yeah, I just faded it down.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
okay,
it's good.
That's where the music would come from, so you are hearing that.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Yeah, yeah, but I didn't hear it until Leo cut me off.
Leo has control over that fader.
Oh, okay. All right.
Huh?
You didn't change the program?
No, I didn't change anything. Oh. You can hear that, right, Scott?
I can hear that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
so
indeed.
it's a matter of where Leo has the fader.
Leo could hear it.
Oh, okay. I also didn't start my timer. I have a timer here now that gives me 9 minutes and 10 seconds, and I forgot to hit the button. So that was...
There's that, too.
There's that, too. I could have had it. That was a backup.
Okay.
Anyway, here we go. Red Penguin asks, did I find a workaround for Skype other than pic quality? You seem stable. I don't know. My pic quality is not that good. The workaround I had, I'm slowly implementing several steps to improve the Skype situation. For my podcast, I actually bypass the router and connect the modem directly to my computer, and that does seem to help as well. Zimmy Z makes a good point that LED is great for best low energy consumption, and that's true. LCD TVs generally consume less than plasmas, and you're exactly right about that. And LEDs consume even less than LEDs or LCDs typically do. So that's definitely an important consideration as well. Josh 3580 KE5 FAM Really like the Home Theater Geeks episode about Ultra D. So did I. That was just last week. It's up now, but it's really cool about glasses-free 3D. One of the coolest initial applications of UHD, of this ultra high definition. My video feed is blurry. I'm sorry to hear about that.
Peter in Brooklyn, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Leo.
Welcome to the show. What can I do for you? Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I want to say thank you very much. I received my autographed picture. And my fiance had asked me what I wanted for Christmas.
Oh.
And that's what I wanted. So
I remember. So she sent me a self-addressed stamped envelope, and we sent her a picture. That's nice. That's a good fiance. You should hold on to that one. She's a keeper.
Nice. Thank you. Leo, I'm actually, we just bought a house.
Great.
So I have one for the living room. I have an 80-inch in the living room. I have a 55 in the TV room, actually. So I need one for a bedroom, but I don't want to spend too much money.
Yeah.
I want to get maybe about a 50-inch TV.
Now, so the thing about the bedroom is how far, remember, what you got to do, you're going to be lying in bed, measure where your eyes are in bed on the pillow to the TV, and you need to get a screen that's big enough so that it doesn't look like it's a mile away. So keep that in mind. Remember, you're lying down now, so the TV might be bigger than you think. I think for the bedroom, it's a Vizio. It's in my guest room because that's inexpensive, bigger than you might think for very affordable prices. Scott was just talking about the Vizio reference design. You don't need to get that, but Vizios are really excellent. Second tier, but I think the best deal on the market today. So if you're price sensitive, get a Vizio.
Do you have a model number, like specific model number?
Go by size. You can look online, but all the big box stores sell them, so you could actually go and look at them at Sam's Club or Costco or whatever the big box store is in your neighborhood. They must have one in Brooklyn somewhere. I don't have a particular model number for you. I'll tell you what, I'll take a look. But if you just, you know what, go to CNET or PC Magazine, look at the reviews. They'll tell you. I think they're very good. I got, for my guest room, I think I got a 47-inch. And I'm just loving it for the, when I had a gym, I got a Vizio for the gym, and that was, I think, a 50-inch. And it's been very good. They go from everywhere from 19 inches up to 65 inches. What's the 80-inch you have?
I have the Sharp. It's a 3D, but I never used 3D.
That's a nice big size. I like it too. Yeah, so the bedroom, it's more for like late night TV, and it's not critical. I think this sounds good. I think Vizio is the right thing for you. And then the other nice thing about Vizio, you don't have to go out and get an Apple TV or a Roku box or anything. It's got excellent internet TV, smart TV capabilities, including music.
Can we stream Twit?
I think you can, actually, but I'm trying to remember. You might have to get a Roku to do that. The Vizio E series, Scott Wilkinson's chiming in. He says the Vizio E series is good. So depending on the size, it'll be E and then the number of inches. So E47 or E42. Excellent choice.
Thank you guys so much.
Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks, Scott. Scott's reaching out to us. Yes, I say. Hey, Brett in Woodridge, New Jersey. Hi, Brett. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Yes, how you doing, Leo?
I'm well. How are you, Brett?
Okay, I watch the show every week on YouTube with my Comcast, and I just had a question because I'm watching now, but I had to turn the volume down on the streaming because you're in California, I'm in Jersey, and we got a delay. Why is there a delay?
There's a delay because it has to, because it has to encode it, squish it down, put it on the internet. That's completely normal, and it depends. Some of it is our fault because of this time delay and stuff. We try to get that delay as low as we can, but there's always at least a few seconds. That's just the nature of it. Turning it down, you just use your phone, whatever you Chromecast from, and turn it down there. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Time to talk about, tech. TVs, apparently. Computers, too. Tablets, yeah. The internet. Home theater. All that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. Digital photography. Sure. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. and Canada. And you can also Skype us if you'd like to do that. We talked last hour about the Time Warner Comcast. I'm not even going to say it. The how can I put this? The idea that Comcast might want to merge with Time Warner, which will of course be in any logical, reasonable world immediately squashed by the FCC, the FTC, and the DOJ. All three of them. It's like American Idol. They're sitting there in a row and they're going, Comcast, Time Warner, you've really great chops, and we think you're going to do very well in life, but no, I'm sorry, you cannot merge. Unfortunately, as we've all learned, life can be disappointing, and I'm afraid I don't know how logical those agencies will be. But let's keep Cabletown from getting any bigger. What do you say? What do you say? Huh? Please. 8888 Ask Leo. You're calling. Heather Hammond will pick up. We'll say hello. Hello, Heather. The phone ranger. And then I shall pick you up, as I have now, Brett in Woodridge, New Jersey. Hi, Brett. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Oh, I thought I was finished with you.
Well, I see a different question on the board. Did you want to ask about your router?
Yes, I did, because I saw a show on YouTube about the DWRT, and
yes.
So they support my Netgear WNR 2000, but how is that going to improve the router at all?
It's a great question, Brett. So when you go out and you buy a Linksys or a Netgear or whatever, you buy this router. The idea of a router, and we've all become used to it, even though this used to be, network technology used to be the realm of high-priced IT guys and gals in big businesses. But now that we all have internet, and many of us have multiple devices attached to the internet in our homes, we've all gotten used to the idea of having this fancy networking device called a router in our home. What does a router do? Well, you connect the router, this, to your internet connection, whatever that is, and then it takes that internet connection and splits it up so that other devices can do it. Sometimes it adds wireless networking, Wi-Fi, sometimes not. Now, the technical details are a little more complicated. What a router really is a very dumb, very inexpensive computer. It has firmware, software that's running. And what it does is it connects to your internet connection, and it does something called network address translation in order to give each computer and device in the network its own unique internet address. This is a requirement. This is why you can't just plug them all into one cable modem and be done with it. And through network address translation, it sits there, and when you go to a website, it's the beginning of a conversation. Your computer says, hello, website, sends that out through the router to that internet address. The internet address has to be calculated either by your computer, by the router, by your internet service provider, but somebody then, says yahoo.com, that equals 192.168.1.1, and it goes out there, and it contacts that computer and says, hello, computer, on your behalf, and the computer says, hello, you. That has to come back. Now, it hits the router. The router has to remember who said hello, computer, and send it to that computer. So it does. That's why it's a router. It's routing traffic. And then the conversation begins. The router keeps track of all of that. If, for some reason, yahoo.com initiates the conversation, hello, you, without your request, the router will get it and go, I don't know who you want to talk to, but I don't want to talk to you, and drop it. And that's great. That's another reason we like routers. They provide a barrier to the outside world. So Mr. Hacker Guy can't just say, hello, you, I wish to talk to you. Because if he does, the router goes, I don't know you, and drops it. Boom. This all works very nicely. It's really a very nice system, a secure system. In fact, I recommend, even if you only had one computer in your house, to use a router, because it's the barrier. It's a dumb barrier to the outside world. Unfortunately, the companies that make these routers, and I won't point fingers, but Linksys is one of them, that just, they're terrible. The software they write is terrible, full of holes. And in one particular instance, they used software that was buggy to begin with, and they just kind of plugged it into their router. And so there's all sorts of security issues. There's issues with something called WPS. That's the thing where you push the button on the router and somehow automatically the computer gets on it. That's horribly broken. We've seen lately that there's, on some routers, a fairly large number, a problem with a particular port that instead of blocking traffic on that port, it just says, oh, yeah, come on in. We did want to talk to you. No, we didn't. And that allows hackers access to your network. So there's because it's the first thing on the network, it's important that it be well-written, robust, and strong. So a number of hackers and open source advocates have come up with some alternative router firmware. Because remember, the router is a computer. You can replace the software it's running. One of them is one you were talking about, Brett, DDWRT. And if you search for that, you'll see that's probably the largest open source project out there for routers. It's a really, really great stuff. Another popular one is Tomato. So you can look for Tomato router. Now, there is an issue because this is software. It has to work on your router. So you're going to want to make sure, A, you get a router that works with it. And Brett, you said yours does. That's good news. My recommendation is absolutely, if your router supports it, put DDWRT or Tomato on there. Because in many, many cases, the software provided by the router's manufacturer is broken, is insecure, is problematic. But these open source projects like DDWRT are kept up to date. When these new errors, the WPS flaw, for instance, are discovered, they're fixed. There are a number of routers out there who have major security flaw with WPS, and they've never fixed it. Linksys, let's give you an example, has a checkbox that says turn off WPS, but it doesn't. So not only does it have the flaw in WPS that allows a bad guy access to your system, but the checkbox that says turn it off doesn't even work, doesn't do anything. Just terrible. So absolutely, Brett, if you have a router that supports either DDWRT or Tomato, and you're fairly comfortable, it's not hard. Just replace the firmware. It's very much like a firmware upgrade to your router. You'll download the firmware onto a computer as a .bin file, and sometimes you can even do this directly on the router. But usually you download it to the firmware to the computer and then apply it to the router. There's always a risk. Same thing when you're doing a BIOS update. There's always a risk something could go wrong. The power could go out during the update, for instance, and you'll have a brick. So understand there's risks with that. If your router was provided by your DSL or cable company, do not do this. That's a mistake. But if you have purchased a router that you own and it's compatible, follow the instructions carefully, and it's a fairly low-risk process that has a great payoff. Read the instructions carefully. But, Brett, I have faith that you can do this. And it's a good thing to do. This will get your geek star. We should start doing badges like Girl Scouts do, where you just get a geek badge. And I think this would be fun. We hand out a sash to all our new listeners. You get a sash, and then we'll award you a badge, router upgrade badge. That's a good badge. If you do that, that's like 98% to geek. Almost anything you do after that. Write a bad script, boom, you're in. 8888 Ask Leo. And it's not that hard. Mike Mann in our chat room says, now we need an oath. An oath of... I pledge to do my duty. 8888 Ask Leo. The website, all this is on the website, techguylabs.com. We need a merit badge for geeks. Okay, House of Cards. And no spoilers, I promise. No spoilers, because I wouldn't do that to you. And I've only seen 3.5 episodes. But there's one point in it that it looks dated. This just shows you how fast stuff moves. It's already dated. So at one point, reporter's trying to get phone records. And his police contact says, oh, no, that's really hard to get phone records. It requires a warrant. Obviously written before it became obvious, although I think we've known this for a long time about pen registers and pen warrants. But I think not. You pay $1.50 to the phone company, it's easy. So there was some of the tech stuff in the new series, the new season, kind of bothered me. It was a little, the hacker calling in, all of that stuff was a little. Oh no. Good. Okay, Echelon. I'm loving it, by the way. They did well with the Deep Web and Tor. I agree. Although, and you know, one of the reasons is Dana Brunetti did a really great documentary on Adrian Lamo, and really delved deep into the world of hackers. I was in the documentary. It never got released due to a dispute, but Dana knows what he's talking about, and so frankly, so does Kevin. And one of the reasons, you know, we've had Kevin on many times on this network and on the Screensavers is because he's a geek. But there were some things in there that I just, but you know, it's TV. You gotta. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, we're talking off the air about House of Cards. Nathan Staten, our musical director, picked up on that one. Wow. What a great show. Oh, man. If you don't have it, well, I don't want to do an ad for Netflix, but it's worth $7.99. Just do Netflix for 1 month, watch all the episodes. It's 2 seasons now, and then you can cancel, and it costs you $8. In fact, I'm sure there's 30-day deals, and we used to have one. There's deals out there where you can get it for free, and watch it and then stop. They kind of know, though. I think they know that it's unlikely that you'll quit once you subscribe. 8888 Ask Leo. We're talking about a show that was produced just for Netflix, can only be seen on Netflix. It happens to be one of the best shows on television, and it just returned for a second season last night. And already there are people in the chat room who have watched the entire second season. It's hard. It's. Pardon me?
When do they sleep?
Well, okay, so I was saying, so Lisa and I, you know, for Valentine's Day, they brought it back on Valentine's Day, and Lisa said, that's not very romantic. I said, are you kidding? Many of the couple who would sit down and watch that series, and so we did. She said, we're just going to watch one. We want to save it. We don't want to see the whole. I said, just one. We're just going to watch 1 hour. We did. She said, what? Just one more. Just one, and I agreed. One more, that's all. Watch the second one. It ends, and you go, oh, one more, please. Okay, one more. Fortunately, we fell asleep in the 4th episode, or we would have watched the whole season.
But you almost did it 3 times. That's great. It's very romantic.
And then fell asleep.
With a big box of chocolates. That's hot.
Television, the new romance. I really think that binge watching is awesome. I'd love it. And there's no ads and no interruptions. Actually, truth to tell, that's how I watch American Idol, too. We don't watch it live because it's got so many ads, so we TiVo it. And then but there's a little fight because she wants to skip right to the performances. I want to watch a little of the drama. No, don't skip that. That's where she's starting to cry. Wait a minute, I want to see what. Right to the performances. 8888 Ask Leo. This is what the internet has wrought. A whole new way to consume content. Don is on the line. He's from Newport Beach, our next caller. Hi, Don. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. I've been listening to you for a long time, and I've got the Carbonite and the DSL Extreme, and finally I went out and got a Galaxy S4. And
man, you become a geek on my watch.
Yeah, now I've really stepped in it, though, and maybe you can straighten things out.
Okay.
My email has just gone all to pot. I get email here at my office at home, and now I only get part of it. It's Windows Live Mail, and part of it shows up on my Galaxy S4. And I can go on the internet and go to my DSL Extreme account, and it's all there. Yeah. And this started last October when I bought this Galaxy, and I've called DSL Extreme 4 times, and finally yesterday, I got to a Tier 2 tech, and he says, "Oh, if you're set up with POP3,
right."
You can't get your email on 2 different devices. That won't work very well.
I don't think that's what's happening, but okay. So let me ask you this. The live mail that you're using, is that's not provided by DSL Extreme. They use Gmail, right? This is something else you set up, right?
No, this is live mail.
This is through DSL Extreme.
Comes through DSL Extreme.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and when you launch it, does it say live mail or does it say Outlook?
On my computer?
Yeah.
Well, here, I'll just...
See, when I go to live.com or mail.live.com, I see Outlook, but that's because I use outlook.com. I'm wondering, I guess Live is still around?
It says Windows Live Mail.
Okay, it's still around then. They haven't moved you to Outlook. So maybe they are right, and certainly since they provide this service, they should know. When you added the account on your Galaxy S4, how did you add it? Because you can, there's an area where it says add accounts, and did you add it as an Outlook account or as a Microsoft account, or how did you add it?
It's a Gmail account.
Well, now I'm really confused.
Oh, okay.
Gmail is not Live Mail. Live Mail's from Microsoft, Gmail's from Google.
Okay, the Live Mail is on my computer here in my office. The Galaxy
All right,
phone.
Now I know why there's a problem. They're two different services. They're two different services. So did you when you set up Gmail, you set up a Gmail account?
Yeah, see, they did that at the store when I bought the phone.
All right. So I understand what's happening now.
And I went back to the store. The tech guy at DSL said, "Oh, you got to switch that to IMAP."
Right.
So I go back to the store, and the store says, "No, you can't use IMAP on this device, on this Android device."
Okay. So Live Mail. When you say Live Mail, you go to your mail and it says Microsoft Live Mail, right?
Yeah, it says Windows Live Mail.
Yeah.
Right there at the top.
Okay. So that is one service that is completely separate. You understand this from Gmail. Mail sent to your email address does not automatically go to both.
Okay.
Unless I'm really confused here. It is possible you're saying he's using Alex is saying he's using the Windows Live Mail client to get his Gmail. Is that correct? On your desktop, what is your email address? Don't say the first part. After the @ sign, what does it say?
Oh, at DSLExtreme.com.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that's Gmail. So you're using a Microsoft Windows Live product to retrieve your Gmail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I really like it because I get orders via email, and I can just shoot them right to my desktop, and then I throw them in folders. It's real handy to sort things out.
So there's a couple of things. Okay. So I'm thinking here. You're getting Gmail in both places. You want to make sure that in your Live Mail on your desktop computer, it's set up to get Gmail using IMAP. The reason that they said this is if you use POP, what it does is it downloads the mail from Live Mail and deletes it.
Mm-hmm.
And when it does that, of course, that means you will no longer get it on your you won't get it on your S4 because it's no longer in the server. So you want to make sure that every client you use, I think the one on the phone is automatically set up for IMAP, but that the one you use on your desktop is also set up for IMAP.
Okay, well, the one that's on my desktop is set up for POP3.
That's the problem.
And
that's right there. That's the problem.
The Extreme guy said, "Go change your phone."
No, he's wrong. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
The desktop. Okay. That's why you're getting everything on your desktop, but only partially on your phone. The desktop is downloading and deleting. You don't want it to do that. That's what POP does. So change Windows Live Mail to IMAP. Can he? Alex, can he use Windows Live Mail to IMAP to Gmail?
I think that's what I used to do.
Did they not?
I think it's when you set up a new thing. I think you have to. You can't just put.
You can't use Exchange. You can't use EAS anymore.
No, and I don't think that one ever did. I think you actually have to set up an IMAP and manually put in the
right, popped up or IMAP'd up. Yeah, okay. So just to make this clear, he's using Microsoft's Windows Live client to get Gmail on his desktop. Unfortunately, when he configured it as a POP3 client, which of course doesn't work. So what he wants to do is reconfigure it. It's not that the phone has nothing to do with it. So just forget the phone. So what he wants to do now is reconfigure Windows Live Mail to use IMAP to get his Gmail. My question is, because I haven't done that, does that work? I remember there were issues with Microsoft and Gmail. You can also set POP3 to not delete. That might be easier, huh? Gmail doesn't care and doesn't want, this is the case. Gmail doesn't want you to delete the mail. So POP3 comes from an earlier time when server space was at a premium and your ISP wanted you to delete it, but I don't think it matters anymore. It does work, Big Ginge, so I can set up Windows Live Mail using IMAP and connect to Gmail. So
Man,
it's just this monitor.
I don't know where my hair is going.
Check the sink, Johnny.
Yeah, exactly. The dream.
Holy cow.
Is your dad bald? No, your mom's dad is the one you wanted.
My mom's dad was bald.
Yeah, that's the one you care
Not
about.
bald. He had like hair like me. So
well, there you go. So that's how your hair is going to look like your mom's dad's hair.
My brother keeps telling me to shave my head so I look like Mr. Clean.
You actually would look good with a shaved head. You know what, Johnny? You would look awesome with it. You're one of the few people that I would say would look great with a shaved head, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, Heather agrees.
Okay.
But how does Natalie
Thank you.
feel
I'll get a
is the
big hoop.
question.
I'm
Would
not
she let
sure.
you
I
shave?
haven't asked her that
It's
part.
sexy. It's hot, isn't it? No.
Yeah, he has a good head for it.
Yeah, wait, yeah, if you have a bumpy, weird head, it's not good. But like,
Right.
like
I don't know what's underneath there. I never
me, I'd
shaved
look
it.
like a Calabasas melon. But you would look good because you have a longer face. See, I have a moon face. I would literally look like the full moon.
Oh, I can see that.
That looks good.
The man in the moon.
You could rock it, definitely. And then maybe do a little facial hair to counterbalance.
I'd look like there's
something.
just something wrong with me. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Johnny Jett, the travel guy. He's built to travel. Hey, before we get to you, Johnny, I just want to, our last caller, it was a little bit of some agony going on. He, just to recap, he had just bought a Galaxy S4, and it was weird because he set it up to use his Gmail, as you do with a Galaxy S4, but not all his mail was coming through, just some of it. And we tracked it down because he was using on his desktop computer, he was using Microsoft's Outlook Express replacement, Live Mail, Windows Live Mail. And it was set up to use POP3, which means it was getting the mail from Gmail and then deleting it. So there's two ways to solve this. It is possible in the POP3 settings, this might be the easiest thing to do, to check the box that says, do not delete mail from server. So that's probably the easiest thing to do. The right thing to do is to set it up as IMAP, but that's kind of complicated. You have to do it manually. You need a lot of settings. I would just check the box that says do not delete from server, and that at least will leave the mail on the server. Then when your phone checks the mail, it'll all be there. And Google doesn't care. This comes from an older time when server space was at a premium and your internet service provider, the last thing they wanted is for you to leave your mail on the server. In fact, when Gmail came out, when Google's mail solution came out, that was the big selling point. Never delete your mail. It's always there. You can search it anytime. We'll give you all the storage you need. Johnny, how are you? Now, I can tell you're not in Toronto. I can tell you're not in Los Angeles. You are on the road somewhere.
I actually am in Toronto.
Oh.
I mixed it up a little bit. I got a new spot, but you can tell because I'm eating these ketchup potato chips, which are crazy good.
They would never sell those in America. Never.
Are you kidding me? I'm not even a potato chip kind of guy, but these things are addicting.
I got a guy from Calgary sitting across from me. He's nodding. He's saying, yeah, good stuff. You haven't
really are.
As you visit around the United States, Jason, you haven't seen any ketchup-flavored potato chips. No. When I was in China, they have potato chips in all kinds of weird flavors.
Well, that's one of the fun things about traveling. When I go to different countries, I always go into the grocery store and I buy funky stuff, especially different flavored potato chips.
McDonald's tastes different around the world. In France, the what do they call it? The Burger Royale or whatever it is does not have the same secret sauce. They got some.
In England, Burger King was serving a horse for a little bit.
Yeah, that was a mistake, I believe. I don't think they meant.
I'm kidding. I'm just.
But it's true. You're not off. But anyway, hello, Johnny.
So I'm in Toronto, and you were just talking about Instagram, which is a great segue to my first product. Because it's Valentine's Day, my wife got me a very nice present called Stickygram. Have you heard of it?
Oh, I love it. So there's pictures from your Instagram feed, and they're in a grid.
They're magnets.
They're magnets. Now, is each picture?
I can pull them off. They're 9 different photos. You can have them all like this, or you can pull them apart and make them separate on the refrigerator or wherever you want to
I
put them.
love it. I've done that, and Stickygram is wonderful. Yeah, there's fridge magnets basically of your favorite Instagram pictures.
And it's only $14.99. They're based out of the UK, but they give you free shipping worldwide. And they also make phone and iPad covers for, I think it's $34 or $39 for that.
Stickygram.
I love it.
Have you ever heard of? This is one I should have gotten you for Valentine's Day. You ever hear of Boomf? BOOMF? Also from England. Boomf. I think it's not Kate Winslet. The Kate Middleton's brother's company. They print your Instagrams on marshmallows.
Oh my gosh, I got it. Natalie's mom loves marshmallows.
They're square marshmallows with photos on them. Boom.
I'm making a note right now.
I wouldn't eat them. No. But they'd be good floating on a hot chocolate. What is your Instagram handle? I know you joined Instagram recently and you've been sharing a lot of great pictures.
Johnny Jet, JOHNNYJET.
Just like your Twitter and everything else.
Just like that, yep.
Yeah.
And speaking of Twitter, by the way, actually one of my most popular tweet this past week was a thing on Team Canada. Did you see they have a refrigerator that can only, at the Olympics, that is from Molson, I guess, and it can only be opened with a Canadian passport? And it's free beer for all the Olympians.
What is it, scan your passport?
Yeah, you put your passport in, it opens the fridge, you get a free Molson. I mean, and that I tweeted it a couple times. I literally had close to 1,000 tweets, maybe 500 or 1,000 retweets.
That is
I just
hysterical.
did it this morning again, just because I was like, I cannot believe how many people are retweeting
That
this.
is so funny.
So,
all right,
down,
it's
2 more down.
Yeah. Okay. Here it is.
There we go.
Canadians, scan your passport to open the fridge. Holy cow! What would we put in an American fridge?
I know, but the photo I looked is from Molson, so I mean it's just a brilliant marketing campaign.
Oh, brilliant!
In ours, we'd put probably Budweiser, I would think.
No. Coca-Cola. No. See, the problem is you can get everything. There's in everywhere else. I guess you can get Molson's in the States too, so that's not so special.
Yeah. I just thought I loved it.
Should have been Labatt's. No. All right. So good. All right. There you go.
And
what
I
else?
got a good deal that just popped up. JetBlue is having a sale from Long Beach to Anchorage, Alaska for the summertime, $256 round trip.
Wow, that's a good deal
for the summer. I mean, that's
now,
insane. It's a 5-hour flight.
How do you find out about that?
Well, I sign up to every different newsletter, and I always recommend people signing up to all the airlines newsletters and also the travel experts. We've mentioned the Flight Deal, Airfare Watchdog, myself. So actually, right after this show, I'm going to create a quick deals newsletter and put this in there because I just spotted it 10 minutes ago. And
so if I go to johnnyjet.com, is it travel deals, travel portal?
No, right up in the upper right is our newsletter sign up, and you check mark daily.
I see. Get the latest travel deals, news, and tips. Sign up for our free newsletter, and you just put your email address in there. And
you don't just sign up to mine, sign up to the other ones too, because I might not be on top of it all the time. I usually am, but you also want to make sure that you got your bases covered.
And do you have a list somewhere of all of these newsletters? How do I find that list?
You know what? Actually, that's a good idea. I should create one. I do have right on my homepage. My #1 story right now is 11 ways to find the cheapest flight, and those 2 I believe are listed that I just mentioned. If not, I'm going to put it there right after.
So you got to use. This is what the whole point of having Johnny on the show is that technology, if you use it, can really aid you in getting your travel dreams, making your travel dreams come true. So, for instance,
okay, go ahead. Please.
No, I'm just saying. Lisa and I are trying to find somewhere to go in Hawaii for spring break with her 11-year-old son, because Hawaii Beach, we figure he'd like. And I'm just looking, and I'm looking for something. And what do? You go to the web, right? And you search the web.
Right.
Is there a better place to do that? Do you use TripAdvisor?
No, not really. I mean, to find what are you looking for the best deals? Or you're looking for where to stay?
Well, both, but I mean mostly somewhere that I'm looking. I want to read reviews and amenities. I want to see.
TripAdvisor is an 800-pound gorilla, but you can't trust every word they say. So usually the ones
some
that
of those
have
reviews are
comments,
fake and like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you find a hotel that has 1,000 reviews, chances are
most of them
they're
are
legitimate.
Right.
Yeah, and you can just throw out the most the worst one and the best one, because that's probably from PR or disgruntled people or competitors or whatever.
So you take the best and the worst off.
Right.
And then in the middle,
if it only has a few reviews, it's going to be much tougher to decide if that's real or not.
Yeah.
So, and also just keep checking. But I always check with my Facebook friends. I mean, I'm fortunate that I have a bunch of worldly friends, but, I'm sure your friends do too.
I have some friends who are Hawaiian. I could ask
even better.
them. Yeah,
that's even better.
There you go. So I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What were you going to share?
Well, I was just going to do something totally off the cuff on skiing. A lot of people.
Now's the time.
Now's the time to ski, and there's an app.
First tip: don't go to Sochi. It's 64 degrees right now.
Can you believe it's 64?
It's I might go to Sochi to go swimming, but not skiing. That would be bad.
I thought about going to Sochi.
Yeah,
by the way. I was gonna go, but I was like, you know what? Yeah.
Bring your T-shirt. So how do I get good deals on skiing?
Well, there's actually a site called Liftopia. That's not what I was going to mention, but liftopia.com.
All right.
Is the site where you get discounted.
JohnnyJet.com, the place to go if you want to get help from Johnny Jet, the travel guru. Follow him on Twitter and Instagram too, and listen to him each week here. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Sorry to cut you off there.
That's all right. I heard the music.
We knew we were running out of time, but Liftopia looks cool. Yeah.
That is the site for
skis.
That's for the discounted lift tickets.
Ah.
Not for skis and stuff like that.
Not for anything else, just the lift tickets.
And then next week I'll mention this app if you want to, or another time.
Yeah.
This other ski. But Liftopia is a great site.
Never worry if we don't get everything you planned in, because basically it's always a tip extravaganza.
And I got you. And I fill my thing up with plenty of stuff just in case
I have nothing to say, which has never yet happened yet.
And did you see that KLM just came out this week saying that you can pay or sort of pay via social media, via Twitter and Facebook?
Oh.
But really what it is that if you're looking on their site, they will send you a direct link to your Facebook and your Twitter. They'll DM you or send you a private message with a link to their site where you can pay. So it's not really completely.
Did you get a deal?
Social media. I don't think it's just about deals, but you do. The KLM is probably, which we should talk about sometime, probably the most advanced social media airline out there. I mean, every time you get on a KLM flight and you land, they're like, the flight attendants say, if you ever have a question or concern, please tweet us or Facebook us, and we'll respond within an hour. And they do, 24/7.
It is weird, but the best way to get customer service nowadays is Twitter. I don't know why.
Some airlines.
Well, for instance, my Audi, the GPS wasn't working. We brought it to the dealer, and they said, there's no fix. Enjoy. And I was like, this is a brand new car. It's got 2,000 miles on it, and you're telling me the GPS doesn't work. So we tweeted it. We G+'d it. We put @Audi in all the tweets. And lo and behold, a few days later, the dealer called and said, Audi America really wants us to fix your car. Would you please bring it in? And they did.
I mean,
they fixed it.
I mean, that's the way for everyone. I mean, though you have millions of subscribers and stuff, but even the regular guy out there should be tweeting.
I think it does. I don't know if they really look at the number of followers that much. I mean, obviously, when they see that I have 500,000 followers, they probably pay a little more attention. But I think that they just don't want anything bad on Twitter. These companies, for reasons I don't fully understand.
I just tweeted Ray-Ban this week because they pissed me off.
Yeah, and it works, right?
No, it didn't.
Oh, it didn't work. Right.
No. They tweeted me back, but I never heard back from them again.
Oh, that's too bad. What did they do?
But I broke my Ray-Bans, and
they're supposed to fix those for life.
I sent on the back to fix. I sent them the $10, whatever it was to fix, and they wrote back. They never even responded. I had to contact them a month later. They said, you still owe some money. I go, you never even told me. I've been waiting for them.
That's the whole thing of Ray-Ban, and fix them for life. If they're not doing that, I think we should tell the world next week.
Please.
No, you.
I used to love Ray-Bans. I've worn them all the time, my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I have raccoon eyes because of Ray-Bans.
Mm-hmm. And that was the value proposition was, anything ever goes wrong, we will fix it for life.
Well, that's changed, but
not anymore.
Well, it's kind of small-timey, don't you think? I feel like they just glossed over it.
Maybe they can't do it anymore.
I think they can. That's interesting because I did not know that. I didn't think that was a public thing, but I forget how I found out and then sent some in. And I've always, they send them back, but it's like they're on the phone and whatnot.
They used to have
not
the best
internet.
customer service. Actually, now I think it's Maui Jim. Maui Jim's.
I
has
like
incredible-
Maui Jim.
Oh,
Maui
those
Jim
glasses
sent me
are
some
so
glasses.
ugly,
I know.
They're great. Next week we can talk about
I
that.
drove over my Maui Jims.
Oh my God.
And they sent you new ones?
No,
They didn't replace those.
I didn't ask him to.
Okay.
I didn't know I
was like,
could.
If they replace those, I'm buying another pair of Maui
No,
Jims
they had a
right now.
lifetime warranty. Oh,
But I play volleyball with Maui Jims.
Okay, I'm going to run because we got to go. Thank you,
All right,
Johnny.
take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy, eating ketchup potato chips and answering your calls at 8888. Ask Leo, what's the weirdest potato chip flavor you've ever had? Ketchup's pretty weird. They're so good. They're so good. Jason, you're going to send me some when you get back to Calgary, right? No, it's all right. They're from Hers, Herrs. Is that who makes them? That's what they say in the chat room. Lay's makes them? Oh, all right. 8888, ask Leo. The Gadget Priest says he's had hedgehog potato chips. I think you're making that up. I don't think that's Lay's dill pickle flavored. Also good, says our Calgary visitor. Chicken and waffle, you ever had those? No? All right. And of course, immediately, Team Blame in our chat room has come up with an article from jaunted.com, 35 weird potato chip flavors we've tasted around the world. All right. And I've had some roast ox. I've had some of these. Asia has some. Roast chicken and thyme is from Belgium. Bacon from Italy. That sounds good. Bacon potato chips, that sounds good. Paprika, that's all right. Olive, that's not so bad. Ham flavored. France had spaghetti bolognese. Spain has lime, that's normal. Iceland has cool American. I don't know what that means. In the UK alone, prawn cocktail, haggis and cracked black pepper, flame-grilled Aberdeen Angus, firecracker lobster, Worcester sauce, roast ox, steak and onion, chili and onion, and chicken tikka masala.
What is going on?
What is going on in this world? I don't know.
Why don't you just have that food with a potato chip on the side or something? I don't get it.
Australia, meat pie with tomaw sauce.
Ah, just give me some salt and vinegar.
Japan has Caesar salad flavored potato chips.
Ew.
Yeah. I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass. Here's seaweed flavored. Ooh, barbecue beef, prawn cocktail, crisp bacon. Ooh.
Good Lord.
Ooh. 8888 Ask Leo. 888-827-5536. The phone number. On we go in this march of progress. Dan, Huntington Beach, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Dan.
Yeah, hi, Leo. Thanks for taking my call. I've listened to you for a long time, many years. Well, you're welcome. You deserve it. What I'm concerned about is keeping my records secure when Microsoft quits supporting XP.
Here we go, April 8th. I bet this is going to be a topic we talk a lot about in the next couple of months. Microsoft has 2 more Patch Tuesdays. There'll be March, and there'll be April 8th. And after that, it's the end of life of Windows XP. That means there will be no more security patches for Windows XP. They have said we will be updating the antivirus definitions for Windows Defender. But I expect that because, of course, every third-party company will do that as well. That's not hard to do. ESET will continue to update NOD 32. That's fine. But the bigger issue is these security updates. And it's not, I'm not sure it's your document security that's the most worrisome. But here's the scenario that I envision. There are bad guys right now who collect exploits. That's what these are. They call them exploits. They're flaws in the underlying operating system that if you know how to take advantage of them, exploit them, will allow you access to the victim's computer from the internet. It's like you can reach out your hand over the internet into the other guy's computer. Now, typically, I understand you're worried about your documents, but typically that's not what they will do, although there is a virus out there called CryptoLocker that is pretty nasty. Will scramble all your documents and then say, pay us $200 or within 72 hours, or we will never give you the key to unscramble them. So that's legitimate, and I would not be surprised to see the crypto. So there's two layers. There's how they get in and then what they do. So if there is an exploit in Windows XP that is discovered after April 8th, that will give them access. And what they do may be CryptoLocker, maybe something else. There's other things they do. They like to take over computers to use them for attacking other systems. They like to take over computers for sending spam because it's hard to send spam these days. Legitimate internet service providers won't allow it. So there's a number of things they can do to monetize your computer, to make money off of your computer, mostly without your knowledge, but sometimes with your knowledge. CryptoLocker is a classic example. In my imagination, and I don't have any evidence, but knowing how this stuff works, I'm pretty sure this is true. There are exploits. There are holes in Windows XP that are known today by bad guys. But instead of taking advantage of it now, putting out malware that opens up your computer now, they're saying, why do it now? That'll give Microsoft a chance to fix it. We're going to wait. April 9th, expect an explosion of Windows XP targeted viruses. Expect a massive explosion. Furthermore, and this is maybe even a greater concern, after April 8th, when Microsoft updates newer versions of Windows, that's a message to hackers. Hey, you know, because very frequently, if there's a flaw in one version, it goes across all versions. For instance, Patch Tuesday this week, last Tuesday, Microsoft made five patches of critical flaws. 3 of the 5 affected all versions of Windows, including XP. 2 didn't affect XP, but 3 did. So imagine now every Patch Tuesday is a beacon to the bad guys. Hey, here's a flaw in Windows Vista through Windows 8. We're fixing it. What are the bad guys going to do? They're going to say, let's see, does it affect Windows XP? Oh, it does affect Windows XP. Now you got a whole nother bunch of stuff. So essentially, in my opinion, it is just not acceptable to put a Windows XP computer on the internet anytime after April 8th. That's it. It's done. If it's not on the internet, you're fine. But if it's on your network and your network's on the internet, that's risky. Best to disconnect it. They call it air gapping it. There's a gap of air between it and the outside world. Then it's perfectly fine because nobody can get into your computer. You don't have to worry. But if you download software and put it on your computer, if you use that computer to surf the net, pretty much can guarantee that starting April 9th, there will be lots of exploits out there aimed at Windows XP, knowing it's just not going to be patched. So what's your solution? Well, obviously, you could buy a new computer and get a newer version of Windows. That's the pricey solution. Although, the price of computers has fallen so greatly since Windows XP came out, 13, 14 years ago, that you might be surprised at what you can get for $500. The other option is to try putting a newer version of Windows on that computer. You probably can't get much newer than Windows Vista, the successor to XP, just because times have changed, but you might be able to get Windows 7 on there if you could get the drivers and everything. Another good alternative is to put a different operating system on there, but that's not Windows. Put Linux on there. They're free, open source operating system called Linux, widely available. There are versions of Linux designed for computers of that vintage. Xubuntu is a good one. ubuntu.com or xubuntu.org. There are lots of, there's darn small Linux, there's other Linuxes designed for older computers. These will run fine. You'll have a browser, Firefox or Chromium. You'll have an email client. You'll be able to do a lot of the things you do on your XP computer, but you won't be able to run Windows software very well. You even can run some Windows software, just not all of it. But truthfully, the only unacceptable solution is to use that computer on the internet because you will get bit. If you've got documents on it, make sure you back them up. And take that backup and disconnect it from the XP computer so that they don't get erased or scrambled or modified. I mean, there will be, I think, a brisk market in companies making security software for Windows XP because there are a lot of people with Windows XP computers. It's something like 30% of all Windows machines still in operation are running XP. That's a huge number. It's hundreds of millions of computers are running XP. That's why it's such a rich target for bad guys. So I think it is possible to use that hardware, but you've got to update the operating system or disconnect it from the internet. This is obviously something we're going to talk a lot about over the next few months. It's going to be a big issue. And I suspect that one of the reasons there's so many people still using Windows XP is because they don't care or know or listen to this show or, and they're just not aware of it. And those are the people who are going to get bit and bit bad because I bet they haven't been updating anyway. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. More of your calls right after this. A Chromebook, I think a Chromebook for a lot of people who have Windows XP is probably fine. It depends why you still have Windows XP. If it's because you're cheap and all you really do is surf and get email, that's fine. If you have it because there's a line of business program, your QuickBooks only uses XP, then that's a problem. It might be Ubuntu, and I used to say Ubuntu, but on the radio, if I say Ubuntu, nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about. So I say X Ubuntu because I think people can understand that. Yeah, you can use with Windows 7. Windows 7 Professional comes with XP. It's a good solution. Oh, that's a great idea. Web 7613 says we should do a 24-hour show on April 8th to help people with XP problems. It's all gam all the time.
I don't know.
I have a Windows.
I can handle that.
My Dell Inspiron is running Windows XP.
April 8th, you say?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Shoot. Sorry. Got something going on.
Yeah. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers and the internet, home theater, smartphones, digital photography, Windows XP, and all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo's the number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. of A. and Canada outside this North American continent of ours. You might just use Skype and you'll be able to reach me no problem. Continuing on, Joe is on the line from Los Angeles. Hi, Joe. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. I have a situation where I've got 5 Motorola Droid smartphones.
My goodness.
On
5?
a cell phone. We like them.
Yes.
Okay. It's for my family.
Yeah.
And we want to switch carriers from our current one. And I don't know if I could use the name of it, Verizon.
Well, Droid is Verizon, and it's, yeah. So it's hard to switch.
And that's the problem because if we switch, then our phones, I've been told, can actually be changed to work on the AT&T network.
Yeah, so here's the issue. There are in the United States, 2 dominant cell phone technologies that are mutually incompatible. CDMA, that's what Verizon and Sprint use, and GSM, which is what T-Mobile and AT&T use. Going forward, this is going to become less of an issue because all 4 are going to LTE, not just for data, but for voice, and then they'll all be compatible. But for now, none of those droids will work on AT&T's network ever. You could conceivably go to Verizon and say, please unlock these. And if you've been a member in good standing, a customer in good standing for some time, they might well unlock them. And then you could go to Sprint, but that's it.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
You cannot go to AT&T with a Droid because maybe the newest Droids, the Droid Max and the newer Droids, you need to have a SIM card in there. Do you have a SIM card in any of those Droids?
Yeah, they do. They're relatively new.
Oh, then I take it all back. So it just depends on whether Verizon locked the SIM slot. In the case of the iPhone 5 and 5S, for instance, they do not. So I have a Verizon iPhone 5S. My daughter broke her AT&T iPhone 5C, so I popped the SIM card out of my Verizon iPhone, popped her AT&T SIM into it, and it worked. And it works fine. It's on the AT&T network because Verizon, for some reason, did not lock the SIM slot. So if you do have a late model Droid that has a SIM slot, it probably is locked. I don't know why they didn't do it with the iPhone. But what I would suggest is that you go to Verizon and say, can you unlock this SIM slot for me?
Okay.
And say I'm going to Europe if you want, and I want to be able to buy a card there or something like that. Don't tell them you're moving.
Yeah. Yeah, because I read on the internet that, unfortunately, the LTE doesn't, on the Droid, you actually have to do some hacks into the, even to unlock. Because it's just the antenna, the radio itself doesn't.
Yeah, it has to be able to do, yeah, that's right. It has to be, Padre SJ in our chat room says he believes that the Droid Max, for instance, can use an AT&T SIM and will work. So, if you could find a friend who has a similar size SIM card that you could, similar as in exactly the same size SIM card, that you could pop in, you could at least try it.
Okay.
I was stunned when I did this to the 5C. I took the 5C's AT&T SIM out of it, popped it into a Verizon 5S, and it worked. It's still working. She says, this is great. Thank you very much, Daddy. Here, keep my broken 5C. We're in the process of this transition. And so newer phones from Verizon will have that SIM slot. They don't have to unlock it. Locking means merely that the carrier who sold you the phone has made it so that SIM card that phone cannot accommodate a SIM card from any other company. AT&T, for instance, if you've been you're in good standing, you've paid off your bills, you've had the phone for more than 6 months, you can unlock it. They'll unlock it. You actually can go to the web and unlock it. I don't know what Verizon is doing in that regard, to be honest. So just check. But it's an interesting question, Joe. And eventually this is going to get better, I hope. Not that I have any faith in the cell phone companies. John in Waterbury, Connecticut. You're next, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, John.
Hey, Leo. How's the weather out there?
Not too bad. Not too bad. We're enjoying it. How are things in Waterbury?
Oh, we're getting another snowstorm. Typical New England.
My mom's in Cranston, nearby in Rhode Island, and so I get the updates. I talked to her yesterday. She said, another 14 inches. I said, oh, Mom.
Yep.
Yeah. Why did you ever leave California, Mom? This is the place.
Well, I was born and raised here, so.
Yeah, I was born in Rhode Island, and I came here quickly. What can I do for you, John?
Well, little backstory. I had a computer a few years ago that died on me, and I went without a desktop for 2 or 3 years. And then one of my friends was an IT guy. He said, "Hey, I got hardware sitting around." Yeah, he threw me a couple pieces and got me back online and everything.
Awesome.
Well, the hard drive that he gave me, I guess he had it formatted for a server or something, and it has a partition on it.
Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, well." It had this operating system for the server on it. I could put Windows on it. It'll be perfect. That way, if I ever had a problem or anything, I could jiggle the handle and flush everything out and have a fresh setup without really having to deal with reinstalling Windows.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is, turns out that partition's only 15 gigs. And I thought, well, 15 is a little small, but hey, it should work. Well, after all the updates and everything, I'm down to 35 megs.
Not enough to do anything.
Not enough to do anything, and that's after I maxed it out and went through and cleaned some stuff.
Oh, that's too bad.
So I'm trying to resize the partition. Like I have Windows 7 Professional on it, and I go into the disk management. It's a 500 gig hard drive. I free up 10 gigs from the D drive, and it will not let me extend the C drive.
Yeah, sometimes first of all you need what's called a non-destructive partitioner. I don't know. Does Windows? Let me ask Padre or somebody in the chat room. Does Windows 7's partitioning program, can that do non-destructive? I think it can resize partitions non-destructively. That means without deleting them. But the partition has to be in a state that it can do that. If it's very fragmented, for instance, it can't. So what you need probably to do is defragment the existing stuff to move it all into one part of the drive and then try again.
Okay.
Because and it may also be there's just not enough free space on the drive to do it anyway.
Well, I tried this before it got really bad. What prompted me to call was they rolled out the newest set of Windows updates, and it ate up the last, I think I had 200 megs left, and I woke up one morning, I leave my computer on, and
that's just not enough. You can't really use Windows with that little free space. EaseUS, EASEUS.com makes a free partitioning and backup program that you might want to try that is a little bit easier. Do backup the partition so you don't lose anything. Try optimizing it first. Frequently, if a disk is fragmented, that is, data is spread all around in random order on the disk, it may not be able to get a big enough chunk to move it all over. So that's another choice. But I would look at EaseUS. I think it's EaseUS.com. And see what it says. You probably not want to be booted into Windows at the time. That's the other thing. You need to do this from an external disk, so you want to make a boot disk to do that. If you're running in the active partition, it's going to be awfully hard to resize it. So the chat room does tell me that Windows 7 partitioner is non-destructive. I do remember that you can resize partitions, but it's perhaps a little more finicky than a third-party tool like EaseUS. Andrew in I don't know where that is. I can't read it. Where are you?
Wicklow, Ireland. I'm in Wicklow.
You're in Ireland. You're in Wicklow, Ireland. Oh my goodness. Well, hold on a second. We have to take a break, but we will go to Ireland. That sounds like fun. Right after this, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey, our show today brought to you by our good friends at Ring Central. Let me tell you about our phone system from Ring Central. It's just a great little, whoops, there it is. Great little thing. We love it so. When we moved into the studio, we wanted to create we needed to get an office phone system. I didn't have much experience with that, but I did know because we're high tech. We didn't want to go to the phone company, get a big old PBX in the basement and all of that stuff. I'd had some experience with that, and it wasn't pleasant. Fortunately, we've heard about Ring Central from the great Russell Tammany, who said, he's our consulting engineer, our IT guy, and he works for a lot of companies. He says, I've installed Ring Central in a number of my clients, and they really like it. With some things I liked as the boss, I like it that it's as little as $25 a month per user, and you get free minutes and stuff with that. I like all the functionality. You call our 800 number, you get a phone tree, directory, all of that stuff. For me, a big part of it, of course, is the ability to get voicemail and email and all of that stuff. And I like a cloud-based system because it means they can add features, and they do all the time. For instance, they've just launched a new feature that I really like called Meetings. This allows you, now you have to be obviously have a Ring Central phone system, but not only can you receive voicemails through emails and send and receive fax messages and the smart apps and their auto receptions, but you also can host face-to-face meetings in high def. You could share desktops or documents with anyone. They don't have to be a Ring Central customer, which is really nice, anywhere on any device. Look, they've got the App Store, the iOS app, the Android app. You could share desktop, you could share documents. It makes Ring Central really, really more valuable. I got to tell you, I just love that. $25 per month per user. You could start right now with a risk-free trial. And because you're listening to this show, they have a special deal for our audience, free phones. When you buy one desk phone, you'll get a second phone free up to a total of 20 phones. That's a really good deal. Call 800-543-9980, 800-543-9980. Ring Central, the #1 cloud-based phone system out there. I love it. 800-543-9980, or visit the website, ringcentral.com. And when you say free trial, click that free trial button. Please use the promo code TWIT. Let them know you heard about it on the podcast. ringcentral.com, offer code TWIT, or call 800-543-9980. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, playing some nice Irish music for our visitor from the Emerald Isle, Andrew. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Leo. How's things?
They're going well. I'm so glad you listen. Is it Wicklow? Is that how you pronounce it?
That's in Wicklow, yeah.
In Wicklow.
I've been looking at I used to watch the screensavers on a 56K stream.
Wow. That was a little tiny window, like a stamp.
It certainly was. It's dedication.
Well, we're HD now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. What can I do for you?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I'm using OpenDNS.
Okay.
And I set it up, and I got myself a nice custom page to keep the kids off the dodgy stuff.
What is your custom? My custom page had a picture of me going, I don't know if they ever saw it, but boy, it was fun.
I've just got a little cartoon that says, no.
I love OpenDNS. Yeah. Are you happy with it?
I am, except it's got a little updater for the iMac that updates my dynamic IP.
Right.
But when I look at the status, it says OpenDNS isn't on. I don't know why.
Do you do it in your router or do you do it on the computer?
Well, we're in Ireland, so I do it on my router.
Your router, yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. Your router. So that's the idea. Let me explain what OpenDNS is. It originally was created just to replace your wonky internet service provider's domain name system. That's the phone book where you enter a web address, techguylabs.com, and it renders it into numbers, which is what the browser needs to go over the internet and get it. As time's gone by, they've realized that they can do much more. One of the things OpenDNS will do is web filtering. A lot of schools, a lot of businesses use OpenDNS. There is a free version for homes. And because you're going through OpenDNS's directory system, OpenDNS can flag sites as adult or gambling. They have actually a broad variety of categories. You decide which categories you want to block. And when your son or daughter or you try to go to that site, OpenDNS will say, well, we're not going to resolve that domain name for you because it's blocked. That's a nice feature. It also gives you logging and lets you know what's going on. It will protect you against phishing emails and fraudulent malware sites and things like that. So I really like it. A lot of schools use this. We used it when my kids were little for a long time. And like you, I have a custom page when they go to a site that's prohibited that says this is, it's prohibited, here's why, and so forth. I don't use the little client. I don't think you need to use the client. The idea is, I'm not sure why they have a dedicated client on the
I think it's something to do with just because I've got a dynamic IP address when I.
Yeah, but I don't think that makes any difference. I guess if they're logging, because that they should know it's you either anyway. I'm not sure why they do that little stub. That's something they've added fairly recently. But it is interesting that it says OpenDNS is not enabled. You know what I would do is I would just go on that machine, go to a site that's blocked, and see what you get.
Yeah, no, I get the site. That's the problem.
You get the site. So it is. So what that means is that particular machine is set up to do its own DNS. So what you have to do is go into the internet settings on the Mac and take out any DNS entries that are there. What you can do is get around, and the kids can do this too, is get around OpenDNS by telling each individual machine, hey, no, don't use OpenDNS. The router says that. Don't use that. Use this. Use the ISPs or Google's or Verizon's or somebody else's. So it's simple enough. Just go into your settings, delete any other DNS entries, and then lock the settings. Say you have to have an administrator password to change this.
Sure, I have one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids can get around it anyway. But.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, I think this is the best way to do it that's least likely to be hacked by the kids. But as they get smarter, they can launch the smartphone. I bet they have smartphones. They can use those as hotspots and get around it. There's all sorts of ways to get around it. So
yeah, they spend about 6 or 8 hours watching the 24-hour New Year's live.
Oh, you did? Oh, thank you. We did a New Year's Eve party here. We were skeptical. We thought, well, who's going to watch that? They're going to go to their own. But what was fun is we realized we have audience all around the world, and each hour we went to a different part of the world. Next year, will you and your family call in for New Year's in Ireland?
We'll do that.
That would be so much fun.
What I'll do is I'll set you up a time zone map that you can show.
That would be really, really cool. Are you a computer geek, Andrew?
I am, yeah, on software for the last 20-odd years.
Oh, that's wonderful. And do you do it for yourself or for a company? Or
I'm with a crowd where we're a subsidiary of Esri there in the US. We do mapping software.
A lot of course, Ireland is and Google has a big presence in Ireland. So does Apple, because Ireland's a very favorable corporate, very favorable corporate tax structure.
Nothing to do with the tax. Nothing to do with the tax. It's the really good guys we got.
And you get very smart, talented, hardworking people who care about what they do. That's the other reason.
That's what it is.
Actually, a lot of animation is done in Ireland, and it's not for tax reasons. I think it's because they're very smart people in Ireland.
Yeah, we do a fair bit of stuff. We got a good bit of film animation, as you say.
That's right. That's right. I know a number of people do that. I know some people who do movie audio in Ireland, movie sound in Ireland. It's some very talented, smart people there. Andrew, it's a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Leo.
Thank you. And I think that doing the Open DNS, if you have a family, if you have kids, it's not. Look, there's nothing you can do that'll keep the kids from going to bad sites if that's what they want to do, especially as they get older. When they're 9 or 10, you control it. But as soon as they're 13 or 14, there's ways and ways. They can always go next door to the neighbors and do it. But what you're doing is you're saying, we care, and we don't want you to do that. And I think that's an important message. And OpenDNS does it in a very nice way. There are lots of other benefits to using OpenDNS, security benefits. I continue to use it, even though I don't have anybody to block anymore. My kids are grown. I really like it. OpenDNS.com. Some people have a little issue with the fact that OpenDNS, the way they monetize is mostly free. The way they make money is if you enter in, instead of you want to go to Google.com and you accidentally type Google.com, it will, instead of saying, I don't know what Google is, it will bring you to an OpenDNS site that says, perhaps you meant Google.com, and there are ads on that site, perfectly well labeled. You know that those are ads, but that's how they monetize, is the display of those ads. Some people don't like that. It's not the way the internet is technically supposed to work, but I think that that's completely legitimate, as long as you understand that that's how they monetize. We get so much great free stuff on the internet, but nothing's really free. So you always want to consider, well, how do they make money? Otherwise, they're not going to keep on going on, right? 8888 Ask Leo, our website, and we'll put a link to OpenDNS. In fact, maybe we'll make that the tip of the week, how to use OpenDNS, because that's a useful thing. At techguylabs.com, techguylabs.com. More of your calls coming up. I am Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Dave's in Santa Clarita, California. Hi, Dave. Leo Laporte.
Hey, Leo. Here's my problem. Time Warner.
That's my problem, too. Oh, no.
Yeah. I actually cut the cable yesterday, took all their equipment.
Oh, good timing. Good timing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But here's my problem.
Yeah.
I have to use them for internet.
Oh.
And so I got into streaming Netflix and love it.
Yeah.
I pay for 20 megs, and during the weekdays, I get 20 megs. But what happens in the evenings?
It goes way down, doesn't it?
It goes way down. It goes down to a half a meg. And I'll tell you what kind of equipment I got. I've got a Motorola. Well,
I could stop you. That's not germane. Unfortunately, this is a problem in general in many neighborhoods because everybody's watching Netflix in the evening. And the way cable works is the cable company puts a head end into a neighborhood, and everybody in that neighborhood's connected to the head end. That head end is the total bandwidth available to that neighborhood. Now, if you live where the head end is servicing 4 people, no problem.
Right.
If you live somewhere where the head end is servicing 1,000 people and they're all watching Netflix, then you're going to get what you're getting. Now, I personally believe there is another devil in the mix. I've seen good evidence, and we put it in the show notes, that Comcast, who was trying to buy Time Warner Cable, Comcast doesn't like Netflix. They have a competing product, and in fact, they slow it down on purpose.
I heard you say that earlier in the show, yes. That's why I called up.
And I'm wondering if Time Warner Cable's not doing the same thing.
But here's the thing. I had a tech out 6 weeks ago, and he saw it. And he goes, this is ridiculous. We have to send a crew out here to add more equipment.
Yeah.
Well, guess what he did?
What?
6 weeks later, I went down there when I gave him my equipment, and they said, well, he closed your account out, and he no longer works for us. And said there was nothing wrong with your equipment. He keeps saying that it's my equipment.
It ain't the equipment. Well, it could be if you have really old But
They
it's
play
not.
dumb. So what I'm trying.
How could it be your equipment if it's fast in the day and slow at night?
There you go. That's what I tell them. And she keeps saying it's intermittent. I said it's not intermittent. I can go by the clockwork. At 6 o'clock, it slows down to 0.
They're not. It is implementation specific. In fact, you might find Time Warner cable's fine in some areas and not in others. It's how much bandwidth they put into that head end, and they have not put enough in. They need to put more in.
Right. So now here's the thing. I got a tech coming out Monday, and he's going to see this. Now, what are the catchphrases that I can tell him to get him to act upon this? Because everything else.
The last guy got fired, so
I know.
You might mention that. No, don't mention that. Whatever you do. One thing to test is to see. This is another possibility, and I would test it before the tech comes out. You're on Wi-Fi?
Yes, I am. I'm using an Apple Airport Extreme 802.11.
Good choice.
I'm using a DOCSIS 3 modem.
Good choice. So you got the latest modem.
Exactly.
Try connecting wired instead of Wi-Fi and see if you get the same result.
Okay.
The reason being, it might not be the cable modem that's getting congested. It might be the Wi-Fi in your neighborhood.
Even though that Wi-Fi is locked down.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with it. Okay. If you have a lot of people in your neighborhood, can you see a lot of other access points?
Yes. When I go on, there's about when I first put the Airport Extreme on, it brought up about 8.
Yeah, I mean, this is unlikely, but it's worth trying to make sure that the wired does the same thing.
Okay.
Now, if you look at Netflix has what they call the ISP Speed Index, in which they rate internet service providers. And Time Warner is 6th. The average speed, get this, is 2 megabits. Now, Time Warner sells 20. They sell more.
That's what I'm paying for, 20.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you're going to get it.
No.
In fact, the best is Google Fiber, 3.78 megabits. If you go way down to number 14, you'll see Comcast down towards the bottom there. The only thing worse than Comcast is AT&T, Clearwire, and Verizon. In fact, Comcast is the worst cable company. By the way, the worst company in all of America. They're trying to buy your company, Time Warner Cable.
Right.
And if that goes through, forget it.
Well, check this out. I stream through a Sony Blu-ray player, and when it buffers or if I pause it, it tells me my connection speed. And during the daytime on a weekday, it's 21 megs.
Yeah.
At nighttime, it's 0.6 megs.
Show them that.
I know what my speed is.
It's an open and shut case.
Yeah.
See if it does it with other things besides Netflix.
Okay. Oh yeah, I'm sure it does.
Let's see, because if Time Warner is gating Netflix, maybe they aren't gating Vudu or some other. So I would check that too.
Okay.
I think, frankly, you got it. You nailed it, and they should respond to that. But remember, it's an economic decision, because unless all of you complain and drop well, you did drop Time Warner. Good man. Unless all of you complain and drop Time Warner. They're not going to respond, because that means it costs them more to put more bandwidth in your neighborhood. But they're selling it. And 20 megabits, by the way, they don't say guaranteed 20 megabits notice. They say as high as. So they are living up to their promise. They didn't say we guarantee 20 megabits. They say it's as fast as. Very frustrating. And I don't think you can blame the cable installer. He doesn't have that much. In fact, he may not even work for Time Warner. A lot of times they don't. They're independent third-party contractors. They don't. They listen. They hear what you're saying. They even agree with you, but they may not have any influence at all. I do worry if I can't imagine that the Comcast bid to buy Time Warner Cable will go through. I cannot imagine it would. But if it does, the vast monopoly power of that company is terrifying. It's bad for all of us. Larry in San Diego, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Larry.
Hey, Leo. Yesterday I had the genius upgrade my MacBook Air from Snow Leopard to Mavericks.
Yes.
And I just wanted to double check before I dove into internet. So I turned on File Vault, I turned on the firewall, I did the software updates, and I set up a separate account to use that's not the admin account.
Beautiful. You're golden, my friend. Make sure you do those updates. Whenever Apple says there's an update, do it right away.
So will it push a notification to me if I'm not using the admin account, or do I need to?
Yeah, no, it'll pop up a notification. Then you will have to log into the admin account during the update process.
Okay.
That's a very good idea. In fact, that's one thing I left out of my discussion of XP. Always use a limited user or non-administrator account if you can. It means that the bad guys will only be able to do what you can do, which means not install software, not modify system settings, things like that. That's what you want. It's a little bit more of an inconvenience because you have to then escalate. You have to log in as administrator to make any changes. But that's you're running exactly right. You will never have any problems. You keep that up.
Well, that seems a little optimistic, but
it's crazy talk. Are you kidding? Of course you can. No one could ever say that. But Macs inherently are much safer. There are far fewer exploits out there, and you've done all the things right to keep yourself safe.
Okay. Can I ask you another question then?
Yeah. Well, hold on, because I hear that magic music. That means it's time for a break. We'll be back right after this. I actually use the admin account too. If it's properly implemented, this is true now on Windows as well. Even if you are logged in as administrator, you have to provide administrator credentials to do any risky things. You have to escalate. So the truth is you don't have to use a non-admin account anymore, but it's not a bad idea. Basically, you're doing an SU-do when you have to. That's why even if you're running an admin account on a Mac and you're installing software, if you're installing for anybody besides just yourself, it'll ask for the credentials, and that's exactly right. Well, and I agree with you, Web360. That is one very common exploit, especially on Windows, is privilege escalation, and you're exactly right. I don't know of any privilege escalation issues on the Mac, but. That is always a problem. Padre, I love you. You are so cute. I love that picture of Russell reading the Diamond Club book that you use in the Ring Central ad. That's so cool. I know that's you, man. I can tell. The snow's coming down. Dick DeBartolo is snowed in. Hey there, Dickie D. Dick DeBartolo, our maddest writer, and the Gizwiz, our gadget hound. He joins us every week from the snow-covered Disneyland.
Exactly. But it did not stop me from going to the New York 3D print show.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
It was fun. There were some bizarre things there. I think the most bizarre. Now, think about this for the brick house in the basement.
Yeah.
3D printer with a print plate of 45 by about 40 by 47 inches. It can print small furniture.
What are you printing? A chair?
You can, yes, exactly. They printed a table. And I said to the guy, he was holding a wastepaper basket. I said, is that the wastepaper basket from the pavilion? He said, no, we needed a wastepaper basket.
So we printed it. I love it.
This thing, I mean, it would be for a brick house.
What's the name of the company?
The name of the company, it's bigrep.com. Kind of a clever name like Big Rep Reproduction. So it's rep.com.
I wonder why they haven't done like a holodeck.com or
But this guy, and he said, yeah, he said, I said, what is the market for this? And he said, architects buy it, designers who can now design furniture for a specific area and then print the furniture. This is the debut of it at the print show. It's not cheap. Well, actually, the guy told me that industrial units that size would be like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this one is $39,000.
Ah!
Yeah, I know.
That's a lot to pay to be able to print a wastebasket.
That's true.
That's
true. Especially if you live near IKEA.
Yeah,
but
I think that's how IKEA makes their furniture.
Oh, that could be.
I feel like it might be. So is everything made out of like that kind of plastic?
Yes, it takes 9 different filaments, but to tell you the truth, I wouldn't know the difference between the filaments. But and on their video you can see a time lapse photography of the device working. And I said, if you wanted to build 3 different things, since that plate is so big, could you build 3 different things at one time? Yeah. And he said, absolutely. The printer doesn't care what's there.
Right.
It's just going to add to the time. He said it was I think it was like 30 hours to print the table.
You should have asked it though. Valentine's Day and all. Can it print a girlfriend?
Oh,
I think there'd be a market for that.
Yeah, I asked if I could print Dennis, so I could have 2. If I could have 2 cameramen.
Yeah. Wow. This kind of interest. I mean, we are moving very quickly in this arena, I think.
Yes. And Lynn had another one there. I can't even remember the name of it. It used paper as its source of print. You put in 3 reams of paper, and it could build anything that was up to 5 inches high, which is the height of 3 reams of paper.
Well, the advantage of that is if you don't like it, you could burn it.
Oh, that's good. That's true. Right. That's true. And it's like the razor blade theory. The unit itself was like, tens of thousands of dollars, but hey, all you're putting in it is paper. Paper.
Big
but there were almost 40 exhibits. So 3D printing is really coming into the mainstream.
That is really neat.
Yeah.
Dick DeBartolo's website, GizWiz, GIZWIZ.biz. That's where you should go to check him out, find out details on all the products he mentions on our show, his regular appearances on ABC and elsewhere. Of course, he does a podcast for us with Chad Johnson called The GizWiz every Tuesday. Now you can also play the What the Heck Is It contest. If you visit the website, gizwiz.biz, click the link, you'll see a close-up of something. Looks like it was 3D printed.
I was just going to say.
Yeah. Guess what that is. If you get it right, you could win one of 12 autographed copies of Mad Magazine. But here's the nice thing about this contest. If you get it wrong, there's 24 copies of Mad Magazine for people who get it wrong. As long as you're clever, Dick doesn't care. GizWiz.biz. Last one was an eyeglasses cleaner, which is very
Yeah, I think you got it.
Did I? I don't think so.
I think...
Actually, I thought it was a Bluetooth.
No, you were close. You thought it was an airplane wing, but I gave it to you anyway.
Windshield wipers for my motorcycle. Dick, hang on. We'll do the GizFizz in just a few minutes. We were, I think before the break, we were talking to Larry in San Diego. I'm sorry, Larry. You had a second question?
Yes, thank you, Leo. So the first thing I did was I opened up iTunes and signed in with my Apple ID. And once I figured out how to get it to show me the podcast, it was empty. It didn't know any of my podcast subscriptions.
Yeah, I think you have to recreate them on the with a new system, I would guess. It didn't import that data.
So there's no way to push that out?
Well,
so
it should have. I mean, I don't. So if you didn't hear, the genius at the Apple Store upgraded him from Snow Leopard to Mavericks, the newest OS 10. I guess for some reason he didn't save that data. Now, it depends on the kind of upgrade he did. You might want to look and see if there's a folder called Previous System Folder. If there is, then all of the previous stuff is in there, and you I don't know how an easy way to extract that. I guess if you took the iTunes stuff out and put it in.
It was a fresh, eraser.
Was it clean install? Yeah, I guess for what. Yeah, I guess. Okay, I get it now. So nothing is saved in your iTunes account. Those podcast subscriptions are not apparently saved in your iTunes account. They're saved in iTunes, so you don't have to recreate them. Which, thank you once again, Apple, for making podcasts a first-class citizen on the Apple platform. Oh well. Oh well. Hey, just here's what you do. You go into iTunes. You go into podcasts, you search for Twit, and you just subscribe to everything, and you're done.
That's pretty much what I did.
I like it. Hey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it, Larry.
Thanks.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but that makes sense that that's not part of your Apple ID. It didn't save that. Now, if you used iTunes Match, all the music is saved, and you can just re-download it. They're geniuses, but that doesn't mean they're perfect. Do we have time for one more? I don't think we do. I'm going to have to wrap her up. We do this show right here every weekend at this time. I hope you'll stop by again. You can find all the things I've talked about, links, and even audio and video from the show after the fact at techguylabs.com. You'll also find a link there to the Twit Network. That's our Netcast network where we have lots of shows about technology. If you're into this, if you're a hardcore geek, I think you'll enjoy it. techguylabs.com. com. Thanks to our great call screener, Heather Hammond, the phone ranger, for doing such a great job today. Thanks to our musical director, Nathan Staten, for playing the hits. And thanks to you, most of all, for listening. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Have a great Geek Week. I'm Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, the Tech Guy is just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows now on the Twit Netcast Network, and you'll find them all at twit.tv. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPad on iPad Today. You get your daily dose of tech news from Tech News Today, and our weekly roundtable show, This Week in Tech. It's all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next time with another great Tech Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.